I'm Nehal. I know a lot of you are so stressed about your placements right now, isn't it? But stress no more, because today's video is going to be about the campus recruitment or the placement process. Let me tell you this one thing. This video is super important for anybody who's taking the employability tests, the AMCAT exams, the Co-Cubes, or in fact the e-litmus papers. By the end of this video, we'll have the answer to that one question we all want to get to. How is it that the final year students get placed in their dream jobs right off campus while they're still pursuing their academic studies? What are the different tests, the assessments and procedures that students must go through to get to that dream job? Now I'm sure you want to know, what exactly is a campus recruitment drive? So campus recruitment drive is organized by the college, where the college tries to invite the best possible companies to campus. The final year students then get an opportunity to compete with their peers and find their dream job. But you know what? While the colleges will work really hard to invite the best companies to campus, but the ultimate onus of entire preparation, sitting through the test and making sure that you land your dream job lies on the students. So the campus recruitment process kicks off with an aptitude test. It's the most critical round because the students cannot advance to the subsequent stages before clearing this round. Do you want to know what exactly is an aptitude test? You'll be surprised to know that these aptitude tests are not designed to study the proficiency of a student in his or her core subjects. All the information about your academic accomplishments can be very well studied from your CGPA or your resume. Instead, the companies here try and evaluate the students for their leadership qualities, whether or not they're a team player, their attitude, ambition in life, how good are they able to solve certain problems, are they patient or not, what are their communication skills, and most importantly, their emotional intelligence. Let me emphasize on this one fact again. These aptitude tests assess a candidate on his or her verbal ability and communication skill. The companies really want to understand whether or not the candidate can comprehend new ideas and concepts. How well are they able to articulate their thoughts? Or let me put it like this. The companies are really looking for a candidate who on joining just hits the ground running. Right from day one, they just settle into the job perfectly. Now let's look at what exactly is the recruitment process which is followed by most companies. When we look at the recruitment process, it can fairly be divided into two aspects. One is the offline campus placements and the second is the on-premise tests and evaluations. Now most companies would employ either one or both of these methods to recruit fresh graduates for entry-level jobs. Like I've said before, these drives also include the employability tests, AMCATs, Co-Cubes and e-litmus. Now let us look at what are the routine placement drives which are conducted every year. So the first is an on-campus placement drive. Like you can guess, it happens right on campus. So every college sends an invite to the best companies or joint partner companies to test and evaluate final year students across various parameters and recruit them for entry-level jobs. While the process for most companies is fairly standard, but some companies add additional rounds such as a group discussion or maybe a technical interview based on the core profile of a student. Now what is next? Next is the off-campus placement drive, or like we call it the pool campus drive. So all the students who could not get a placement during the on-campus placement drive, they should actually not worry because they get another opportunity during the off-campus placement drives conducted by most companies. So the process here is mostly similar to the on-campus drives with just one difference. Here, the eligible students compete with peers not only from their own college but also with those of the other college to secure a job in the prospecting companies. Now let's move on to the independently conducted online employability tests. It is important to mention that companies do recognize these scores or the certificates given out by the private online employability testing companies such as AMCAT, Co-Cubes and e-litmus. These companies follow a very standard aptitude test module to assess and evaluate students. So you guys can actually register for these tests either individually or even through your college. And you know what's the best part? The scores for these tests are valid for one entire year, except for e-litmus where it's valid for 2 years. So all in all, the aptitude tests conducted by all these testing companies follow a very similar pattern and syllabus, which we will now be discussing. So let's do a quick recap. Till now, we've discussed the different paths a student may take to get recruitment in their dream company. But now let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's discuss the testing and evaluation process in detail. So like I said before, most companies will follow a standard testing and evaluation process. So let's move on to the eligibility criteria and the importance of a professional resume. The eligibility criteria will differ from company to company. Say some companies maintain a minimum eligibility criteria based on the CGPA scores, which basically means that students must maintain a good percentage score across all their semesters. Also, it means that students must not have any active backlogs. I know it's very sad, guys, but it looks like we don't have a choice here. Let's now move on to the resume. You all might have heard this one thing, all is well that ends well. Well, let me tell you, all is well that starts well. A resume is the first document that a company will see as a representative of the candidate. So having a good and a professional resume will certainly help your application. It is extremely important to have a detailed resume which highlights your academic scores, academic achievements, any projects that you've done as a part of your graduation, internships, positions of responsibility that you might have held previously, and extracurricular interests and achievements. It is advisable that you download a good template from the internet and edit it as per your requirements. Now, let's move on to the process of placement tests. It starts with pre-placement presentations by participating companies. So, in the initial stages, representatives from these companies will traditionally deliver a presentation about the companies, their products and services, their history, their past triumphs, and their accomplishments. Now, what exactly are you supposed to be doing during this period? A candidate is expected to actively take notes and remember all important facts about the company. You know why? Because at a later stage, say during the personal interview, you could be quizzed about it. It is only to determine if the candidate was paying attention and the amount of enthusiasm he or she holds for a recruitment in this company. It's also advised that students make this entire activity as engaging as possible. You should actually ask the representative certain questions about the company, about the job profile, or in fact the location. You should also ask the representatives if this company requires a mandatory signing of service bonds or if there is a lock-in period for the job contract. For anybody who does not know what a service bond entails, it basically mandates a recruited student to pay a monetary fine in case he or she leaves the company before the ending of the stipulated service bond term. Now let's move to the aptitude test. As I've said before, this is one of the most critical aspects of your entire recruitment process. While this section will require you to solve only basic questions, but the skill lies in expertly solving all these questions in the allotted time. These tests require students' use of logic and reasoning. Do you want to know a trick? So the trick is, of course, to have a lot of practice, but to also develop techniques for yourself so that you can quickly solve these basic algebraic and mathematic expressions. So some companies have a cutoff set for every section of the test. On the other hand, there are some companies who have negative marking for each question. So it's extremely important that you're fully aware of the entire test pattern before you actually take the test. So these aptitude tests will have multiple choice questions, which are also called MCQs, for 4 primary sections. The DI, which is data interpretation, LR, which is logical reasoning, QA, which is quantitative aptitude, and verbal ability, which is also VA. So let's start with the quantitative aptitude. In this section, we have the following subjects and subtopics covered: number system, elementary mathematics, algebra, geometry and mensuration, commercial mathematics, speed, time and distance, work and wages, and clocks and calendars. Now let's move on to logical reasoning. This section involves decryption, syllogism, data sufficiency, logical puzzles, and non-verbal reasoning. Next is verbal ability. This section involves certain topics such as verbal reasoning, critical reasoning, and the English grammar. This section also tests a lot of subtopics such as reading comprehension, para completion and jumbles, one-word substitutions, fill in the blanks, antonyms and synonyms, idioms, and a lot more. The next segment is data interpretation. Here they test a student's ability to understand and comprehend a lot of charts. The tabular charts, bar charts, pie charts, caselets, and God knows what. So only when a student satisfactorily completes the aptitude test is he or she informed about his or her progression to the advanced rounds, which could be either a group discussion, a personal interview round with the HR, or a technical round. So let's first start with what a group discussion is. So first things first, not all companies will conduct a group discussions. Only companies which pay extremely well, which are called the dream companies, usually conduct group discussions. Students are awarded marks on the basis of their content and conduct. In fact, in a group discussion, the conduct of the candidate matters much more than the quality of their deliberation. At this point in time, companies want to evaluate their prospective employees on a certain different factors such as their emotional intelligence, their attitude, leadership skills, and team player skills. The topics of a group discussion could be based on current affairs, political and social themes, or in fact could be abstract. After the completion of a group discussion, the student moves to the next round, which is a personal interview with an HR. While this round may include some tricky interview puzzles, but one must definitely be ready for some obvious questions that are asked in this round. Like, tell me about yourself, what are your strengths and weaknesses, why do you want to join this company, why should the company hire you, and where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years. But you know what? While it's absolutely prudent to prepare really well for this round, but just know that there is no perfectly right or wrong answer. The recruiters here are only trying to assess if there is clarity of thought and purpose in the candidate's mind, whether he or she is able to clearly articulate in a very stressful setting. Next, we move on to the technical round, which is also our last round. This round is applicable only for computer science students. The best strategy for a candidate to prepare for this round is to go as per his or her resume. Most candidates would get an option to choose the test subject or the language. In this round, recruiters mostly want to test the basics or the fundamentals of the candidate and not necessarily their proficiency in the subject matter. So broadly, the recruiters here would want to test a candidate's basic concepts and the way they approach a problem rather than arriving at the right solution. They may do so by giving open-ended questions in the form of a puzzle. So guys, I really hope that after watching this video, you have a lot more clarity about the campus recruitment drive in detail. You can watch our next video where we will be discussing in detail the campus recruitment test topics. If you have any questions or you want us to cover specific topics, do mention it in the comments below. Also, do not forget to download the LearnZilla app from the Google Play Store. And obviously, like, subscribe and share. Thank you for watching, guys.